Hello and welcome to Nintendo World Report at Night for the week of March 12th, 2016. I'm Donald Terriel, and I'm joined tonight by a couple of people who are into way more paper than I am. Our site director, Neal Ronahan.
Hey, everybody.
And a very special guest tonight, wrote a very interesting editorial about Fire Emblem, which you can read over on NintendoWorldReport.com, Mr. Matt West. Matt,
Hey,
welcome
everybody.
to the show.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Is this your first time on a video show, Matt?
I think it's second. We did that at the end of last year. We did one where we talked about kind of narrowing down our list of best games. So
Yeah.
Or the news-making game of the year thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So welcome to Nintendo News Report or Nintendo Report at Night or whatever this edition is called. The Zelda therapy session is what I might refer to this episode as.
Yeah, but Neal, you had something you wanted to let us know about off the top here.
So I've been slacking on putting up an official announcement on the website, but starting very soon, pretty much I'm going to go start playing Paper Mario 64 after this is over. We're doing the goal is to have a Paper Mario entire series replay leading up to the release of Color Splash in what I would assume would be the end of the year. I mean, I guess we'll see exact release timing, but we're going to start with Paper Mario on Nintendo 64. We have a bunch of people on staff that are ready to play it. I think, Matt, you're going to do it, right?
Yeah. I'm actually going to go play it after we're over too. So
Yeah. So what we're going to do is over the course of the next month and a half, we're going to have 3 staff discussions. It'll be like this, and we'll intercut video and stuff into it about Paper Mario, split into different chunks. So the first one, which will be the beginning of the game up until the end of Chapter 3. We're going to be recording that, I think, probably the week of March 20th, around then. So we'll have a forum thread up on the site, and you can put your comments there, or maybe we'll have some other kind of forum for you to put comments about your replay of the game or your memories of the game or something like that. And then after that, we're going to do chapters 4, 5, 6, probably about 2 or 3 weeks after that, and then wrap up the game. And then assess and figure out what we're going to do for Thousand Year Door, because I think that's actually the Paper Mario game that I'm most looking forward to replaying out of this entire 4-game set.
Yeah, I kind of wish I could get in after on Thousand Year Door. I just don't really have access to a copy of it, but if I have some squirrel away some spare time here, I might try to get in on the Paper Mario stuff, at least as far as the forums go.
Yeah, and I mean that's on the Wii U Virtual Console, so you can go play that. That's how I'm going to play it. I actually started playing it when it first came out on Wii U Virtual Console, so I think I already have the prologue done. I think I'm just going to start where my save file was because it wasn't far in. But yeah, Paper Mario.
And if you want to hear more about Paper Mario, we on this same YouTube channel we have a special deep dive into what we know of for Paper Mario Color Splash. I don't know, Neal, you seemed a little hard on that one.
That's because I don't like Sticker Star. And from what we know about Paper Mario Color Splash, it's going to be Sticker Star 2. That's what they've laid out on the table so far. But instead of stickers, it's now cards. But it just looked like... I mean, Color Splash to me is concerning because what I like about the Paper Mario games is everything but Sticker Star. And it looks like Color Splash is going to be Sticker Star. But maybe they'll learn from Sticker Star. I don't know. We haven't seen a lot about it. We basically saw a minute of gameplay, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I mean, we haven't seen much of it. I will agree with you. It does look a lot too much like Sticker Star for what I'm comfortable for. But I don't want to say it's Sticker Star 2 just yet. I think I need to see more of it, and I'm hoping that there were a handful of things that I liked about Sticker Star. So I hope that they can take some of those good ideas, expand on those, and then also change a lot of what didn't work with Sticker Star.
Yeah.
But from what I saw in the trailer, especially the world map not being, there's level 1-1 or whatever, that's very Sticker Star-ish. I didn't see any partners like we got in the first 2 Paper Mario games, so that was a little concerning to me. But I don't want to write it off just yet.
Yeah, yeah, once again, what we've seen about Color Splash so far is that it looks like it's not, going back to the old RPG of Paper Mario yesterday. I mean, it was very deliberately in all three regions Nintendo Directs. It was called an action adventure, not an RPG, not an action RPG or something. It was an action adventure game. And I think that if you're expecting an RPG from that game, you're going to be very disappointed. And I mean, really, from what they've shown out and what their elevator pitch for that game is it looks like it's Sticker Star 2. And I think the one thing that is undecided with that is it going to be like, okay, we know what didn't work about Sticker Star, so now that's like it's going to be fixed, and we did all this new stuff, and it's actually going to be fun in Color Splash, or I guess there were some people that liked Sticker Star. Maybe they just do that again. Like, I hope it's the former. I think that's what I would bet on. But it's hard for me to get excited about a game that's a very apparent sequel to one of my most disappointing Nintendo games in the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do not disagree at all. But I do think that part of it is, I mean, Sticker Star, even though people didn't like it, it actually sold pretty well.
All of the Paper Mario games have sold very well.
Yeah. So I think they're looking at that, it being a sales success. Like maybe it just needs expanded upon or rounded out.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Let's side with optimism. Maybe Color Splash is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Let's hope.
Maybe it'll be number 2 in the Game of the Year standings behind Federation Force.
It'll be right after Paper Jam.
Well,
it might be number 3. Paper Jam will be number 2, and Federation Force.
It'll be number 2 behind Federation Force in terms of signatures signed on petitions to end it. Yeah.
Anyway, now that we're getting real negative here, we need to have a therapy session, I think, because there were some interesting comments made this week by AJ Aonuma regarding the upcoming Zelda Wii U game. Basically saying that originally the secret sauce for the game was Ocarina of Time, but this game is going to be very different in that regard. They're going with something new, and I believe the comparison was going from a Japanese restaurant to a Western-style restaurant.
Which is...
And Neal...
So many people, and like, I keep on seeing people being like, oh, it was a metaphor. Aonuma didn't mean that, like, it's just going to a different style of food. But, like, no, that's not what you say. If it's just that, like, it's a different style of food, it's going to be different. No, you use that metaphor when you're like, we're trying to be influenced more by Western games. Because that's all they've been saying about Zelda since, I mean, basically what happened is Skyward Sword came out around this, I think a week after Skyrim, and Skyrim destroyed Skyward Sword in sales-wise and critical praise, everything. And I think I'm 90% sure there's quotes from Aonuma in specifically to him checking out Skyrim. And I think part of it was like, haha, funny, because Skyward Sword, Skyrim, they both have Sky in the title.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, in Zelda Wii U, there's going to be a lot of influence from Western RPGs, like, you know, like your Witchers, your Elder Scrolls games. I think you're going to be able to be like, oh, okay, yeah. So like, they saw that in the Elder Scrolls game, and then they put their Zelda twist on it. Like, I think we're going to see that. I think that's going to be something that will be a part of Zelda Wii U's DNA.
So does this mean that the new Zelda is basically going to... there's not going to be a debate about is this an RPG like seemingly happens in every time a new mainline Zelda game comes out?
I mean, they're not going to reinvent the wheel that much. Like, I don't think...
We're not going Zelda 2 here.
No. I'd be shocked and baffled if they went that way. I mean, I think... And I started talking about this on Twitter, like, an hour before I saw that Aonuma made comments about it, because we recorded for our podcast. One of our podcasts on NintendoReport.com is the show Connectivity, which is going to be celebrating its 200th episode very soon. And I was recording a reunion with some people that I used to do a show on Nintendo Report on called the End of Your Newscast that has been dormant for 5 years. But we were talking about games, and Zelda Wii U came up, and I went from being very excited about it to having the seed of doubt cast. Because we started talking about how, like, oh yeah, it's going to be an open world game. And I think my worry there is seeing how Nintendo kind of reacts and responds to certain trends in the industry. There's that part of me that thinks they're going to look at open world games and take all of the stuff that people are sick and tired of and then put it into Zelda. So, like, you're going to be going up towers, like Assassin's Creed. Like, there's going to be all these other things that, like, when we look at open world games now, if they do all of those things, it's checking. It's a check mark. It's not anything that interesting. It's just, oh, that's what you do in an open world game. And maybe I need to shut the hell up and realize that the Zelda team has done nothing but deliver me games that I've loved for the past decade, and just let them be influenced by this and see them make beautiful, beautiful things. But as someone who doesn't really love open world games and was kind of a little disappointed in Xenoblade Chronicles X, I guess when I hear Nintendo making an open world game, I kind of get a little scared because I don't know if I'd like that.
My thoughts on this, and I was thinking about this today because I knew that this was something that you had talked about on Twitter. My thoughts on this are, I'm the same as you. I don't really care for the open world RPGs that are made in the West here. Like Skyrim's not really my cup of tea. Neither is The Witcher. That stuff just doesn't really appeal that much to me. However, there have been other genres which don't appeal to me, but then Nintendo makes a game in that genre, and all of a sudden it opens that door.
Yeah.
And I'll use, like, for example, this year, like, I'm not really huge on online multiplayer competitive shooters. However, Splatoon is probably my favorite Wii U game, and it's because they took online multiplayer shooters and they kind of took what some people were doing, in those, but they put their very Nintendo spin on it. And they did it before, like, a real-time strategy games. That was never really my cup of tea. But then Nintendo made Pikmin, and I absolutely adore Pikmin. Like, it's one of my favorite series. I can't wait for the next Pikmin game, whether that's Wii U or NX or whatever it's coming out on. It's one of my most anticipated games right now. And so I think even if the Zelda team is being influenced by Western games, this wouldn't be the first time Nintendo was influenced by a type of game that they haven't really done before. And they've proven to me in the past that they can do those types of games, but put their own spin on it. And even if it's a type of game that I don't really enjoy, sometimes they can make me enjoy it. So.
And I think that is the wonderful, beautiful, optimistic way to look at things. And once again, like going back to Paper Mario, like let's go with the optimistic thing here.
Yeah.
And I guess I think for me, what kind of got me on this worried train, because like for me, like there's like I have the damn shield behind me. Like Zelda is far and away my favorite Nintendo series, or at least the favorite active one. Like I really like Metroid, but like that's kind of not active. I love Punch Out. That's kind of not active. But Zelda's far and away my preferred Nintendo series that's like actively having new games made for it. And from the moment they announced Zelda Wii U, it was just like, don't care when, don't care what it is, I am on board, all in for day one. And I think just having that little seed of doubt cast this week that I might not love it, that just kind of had that like, oh no, like what if it's, what even is this game? We have no idea.
Yeah.
And on one hand, it reminded me of, there's a friend of the show, he's written a couple reviews for us, Ryan Grove, Rondorf on Twitter. He's a huge Star Wars fan. Like he's on a Star Wars podcast called Blockade Runner, which is a pretty good listen if you're deep into that world. I was talking with him, and he was telling me about how like 2 days before The Force Awakens released, he was like talking to a friend of his, freaking out because he's like, I've already bought all these figures, I've bought all these comics. Like, what if I hate this movie? And like, fortunately, he loved it. But I feel like that's the point that I'm at with Zelda Wii U, is that it's like, I got the damn shield, like I'm so excited for it. What if it sucks? What if I don't like it?
And I think
And that's where I'm at right now, and I think it's doubly so because Nintendo released an open world game called Xenoblade Chronicles X that I know, Donald, you loved it. I think, Matt, you might be a little more on my line with it, which I like a lot of things about Xenoblade Chronicles X, but it just, like, there was a clumsiness to it that I didn't really like. There were so many systems and everything, and it just kind of was like, maybe I don't want to play this game. Like, there's a lot that I like about it, but there's enough that's kind of making me raise an eyebrow and wanting me to go play other games.
I really liked it, especially at first. For the first half of the game, I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But over time, there were so many little things that they're not big by themselves, but so many little things that kind of added up and put some wear and tear on me. So that by the time I had finished it, I was ready, like, finished the story. I was ready to be done. I don't know, maybe I'll go back to it eventually. Maybe I just need a break after all that, but it just, after the, I think, 70, 75 hours that I put into it, I was just like, okay, I finished it. I don't have any desire to continue diving into this.
That's exactly how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Like, not that, like, Xenoblade Chronicles X is not a bad game at all. It's just a game that I didn't enjoy as much as I thought I would.
Now, we do need to make the distinction here between Xenoblade Chronicles X and Zelda Wii U, in that technically Xenoblade Chronicles X is a Monolith Soft game and not really by one of Nintendo's internal teams.
Monolith Soft is an internal team.
Well,
yeah, they're like 97% owned by Nintendo.
I'm also pretty sure, like, Monolith Soft, like, Monolith Soft helped out with Skyward Sword. Like, that's fact.
Yeah, they did.
And I've heard some stuff that I think, like, they might be helping out with Zelda Wii U. Like, I think it's reasonable to speculate that the engine being used for Zelda Wii U is probably the engine used for Xenoblade Chronicles X. That seems like that would make a lot of sense because there seems to be a lot of shared goals of both games.
Yeah, and you look at Xenoblade Chronicles X as what could happen if you get into a problem of icon abuse in an open world game, but the last time that the Zelda series sort of tried to reinvent what it was doing was Link Between Worlds a few years ago, and my God, they absolutely nailed it.
Oh yeah,
so
that's a great game.
So there is precedent for them going off the reservation a bit and producing something that was really, really good.
Now, and that's why like I kind of come back to it and I'm like, I should just, like, kill that part of my brain that's doubting and just move on, because I loved Hyrule Warriors. I loved Link Between Worlds. Wind Waker HD was a great remake. Twilight Princess HD was one that was clearly farmed out, but was still good. The Ocarina and Majora's remakes are fantastic. Like, I loved Skyward Sword. There hasn't really, that Zelda team hasn't been a part of a game that I've been disappointed in since Phantom Hourglass. Like, that might have been the last Zelda game that I wasn't like, yo, man, that's really good. Even Spirit Tracks, which I feel like gets a weird amount of shit these days. Like, I think Spirit Tracks is still a pretty good game.
Yeah, I have yet to play a Zelda game that I'd consider even close to bad. So, another thing I wanted to say is, just like Star Wars, you made the Star Wars comparison earlier with Ryan Grove, but just like Star Wars, before it came out, we've seen almost nothing about this game.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's part of the problem is a lot of people are afraid that this game isn't going to be good because we've literally seen like the same 15 seconds of film over and over and over again for a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And we're getting antsy, and we want to know why the delay's taking so long. We're starting to speculate a little bit too much, maybe. And so I think
we don't even know. We don't even know if it's going to even be a Wii U exclusive at this point.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think they just need to show us a little bit more.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes in line with a lot of what Nintendo's been doing, and I think we'll see both Zelda Wii U and the NX being an instrumental part. Dare I say, maybe even like the entire E3 experience. I don't think I'd be shocked if you see Nintendo booth on the E3 show floor being like, half of it is Zelda on Wii U, the other half is the NX, and there's nothing else. Like, that'd be weird.
Oh no, it'd be like It'd be a third Zelda, a third NX, and a third Amiibos.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it would just be like you'd walk through it. Like it was funny last year. Well, the past 2 years really, but even more so after the majority of the Amiibo had come out. Is that like there's this section in Nintendo's booth that's just like this glass case of all the Amiibo that are out and forthcoming, and you just see people walk by, take whatever pictures they could. But I mean, I think it's getting to the point, and for NX, I think it's been at that point for months, where you need to show something.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, I think that the plan at Nintendo is to wait until June, wait until E3 to show off anything with Zelda Wii U or the NX.
Yep.
And I don't know if I agree with that, because when you actually make those announcements, if they're not earth-shatteringly amazing, during E3, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. And it's like you're putting too much pressure on a singular event. And I think that, I mean, and this goes a little more NX than Zelda Wii U, although I think that they're in a similar holding pattern. But what both Microsoft and Sony did with the PS4 and the Xbox One, where, you know, either a couple months or a couple weeks before E3, both of them were like, okay, here's a sample of what the PS4 is going to be. Here's a sample of what the Xbox One is going to be. And even if Microsoft did have to double back on like all of their messaging, like they still had going into E3, there was like, here's the basic bullet points, and then that's where you could then, I mean, it worked better for Sony, was just roll out with, and, you know, we're going to have this dick comment to Microsoft because we both kind of know what's going on. We got all these games coming out. And actually, I was at Microsoft's E3 press conference that year. It was a very good E3 press conference because all it was basically was just like an hour and a half of games. Mm. And that's where we found out about Killer Instinct, Quantum Break, and because they could have that focus because they didn't have to explain what the system was. They just could be like, okay, yeah, you heard that a couple weeks ago. Let's go. And if Nintendo waits until E3 for the NX, it's going to be, here's what the system is, here's some games, and it's going to be too much.
Yeah. And I think if you don't talk about it, because they announced it so early, and I know that they had to because of the mobile stuff, and I know that it was their fear that if we don't announce that we're developing a new dedicated console, then people will think that we're just going all out on mobile, and we won't be continuing doing what we've done forever. I get that. But at the same time, we've got so many rumors that some people are taking as fact. Like there are people out there that I talk to that see these rumors that are like, oh well, Square's putting the Final Fantasy VII remake on NX, and they think it's fact, and it's like that has not been officially announced by either Square or Nintendo. Like
or really even seriously hinted at more than rumor. And you know, for all we know, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy 14, they could all be coming to NX.
Oh yeah, they could.
But it's all, I mean, the only bit of, like, I guess, more credible speculation with the NX with Square Enix is the Dragon Quest XI thing, which we're closing in on a year since that was. There hasn't been nary a peep about NX and Square since then.
Yeah.
Guys, we all know that everything about the NX is going to come out in some Nikkei article at some random point.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to bat an eyelash about it.
Yeah, it'll be like April or May. We'll get something out of that, or there will be some other ridiculous leak out of like NOA or NOE. They'll just have like, and here's the entire marketing plan.
Well, all the ninjas are working on NX right now. It's how stuff like marketing plans can leak out.
I mean it is kind of funny when you think about all the rumors and leaks that have come out. We have had zero confirmed rumor speculation things about NX, other than like the 2016 seems to be the year it's coming out, and even most of that's just coming from like oh God, I'm blanking on the term. Whatever Michael Packer's analysts and people kind of speculating. There hasn't been a lot of like solid rumors about like this is when it's coming out.
Yeah, the only one.
But other than that, we know everything else about Nintendo except for the NX.
The only one that has been about NX is in relation to Zelda Wii U possibly also launching on NX. So, which I think is probably going to happen. But.
Which has also been something that people have been talking about for I think like 4 years now.
Since Zelda Wii U.
Time immemorial, people have been like, that Zelda game, is it coming out for the next system too?
Although most of that really cranked up when the initial delay got announced anyway. It's
Yeah,
like, okay, what does that mean?
yeah.
But
But
anyway,
almost literally every Zelda game has been delayed. So,
Yeah.
or every mainline 3D one. I think. Yeah, yeah. Every mainline
the,
3D Zelda
the,
game has been delayed.
Yep.
yeah, because even Majora's Mask, they wanted that out in a year, and it took two.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that was an unrealistic expectation, but it was still delayed. Ocarina was delayed. Wind Waker, I think, didn't get delayed much, but was still delayed because I think it was supposed to come out that fall in America, and it didn't come out until the March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Twilight Princess was delayed. Skyward Sword was that?
Skyward Sword was delayed because remember they had the E3 showing where Miyamoto came out and like the controls didn't work properly, and then it was like a month.
Yeah. I think that was originally supposed to be end of 2010, but I think that was a less of a big delay. And then of course the major one was Zelda Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But let's move on here because I think we've gone about 15 minutes just on one little statement about food.
Just wistful about Zelda Wii U. I mean, it's just and guess what? Those kind of 15 minutes about a single offhand remark by the producer of the game, when you release 15 seconds of footage over a span of 2 years, like the funniest thing to me, and I think this will continue to be hysterical until we actually see footage of Zelda Wii U, is that so there was the video game awards thing from the end of 2014 that was Aonuma and Miyamoto showing off Zelda on that off-screen footage. They could have shown that exact same video a year later, and everything else about it is true. There's nothing false about that video. They don't even need to change what they're talking about with Star Fox during that video either, because Star Fox got delayed.
Yep.
Like, I watched that video thinking, like, is there anything that they would need to change if they aired this now? There isn't.
All right, but moving on from Zelda here, keeping on the medieval part. One of the big releases of the week was the demo for Bravely Second, and have either of you guys put any time into it?
I'm about an hour into it, and I think I realized that I don't want to play Bravely Second.
Yeah. I haven't even downloaded it because I got Bravely Default, and I got about 3/4 of the way through that game, and I realized at that point that I didn't really like that game that much, so I quit playing it.
Yeah, Go ahead, Neal.
No, it's just I like a lot of what it does with the job system and the combat stuff. I don't find that world that appealing. I don't find the characters that appealing. I don't find the story that appealing. And that's what, like, I do remember, like, I hated the demo for Bravely Default, and then I wound up talking to someone and got convinced to pick up the game, and I did enjoy it. But once again, like, it got to a point where I just don't really care about anything other than, like, the combat system and the job system. And that's what I'm finding with this demo, is that, like, I care not about any of this, like, hacky story and, like, the Magnolia Arch and all this crap. Like, I don't know. Like, I'd rather play through Fire Emblem Conquest and Fire Emblem Revelation instead of going through Bravely Second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put I'm about the same situation as Neal. I put about an hour into that demo, and I quit out of Bravely Default before that game gets bad. Like, I didn't even make it to Chapter 4, let alone what comes after it.
Yeah.
And
Although I'll stand by that for people who don't know about, like, the fuckery that goes on with back end Bravely Default. I think it's brilliant. I think it's a dick move in a game, but I think it's brilliant. But go read about it. We don't need to go into spoiler territory here.
Yeah, I do want to finish it because, I mean, I do want to pick up Bravely Default, but I suspect that my time is going to be occupied for that part of April anyway, between Star Fox and some other things.
Langrisser.
And really just catching up on Langrisser and catching up on some stuff that I probably should be playing by now, like Twilight Princess, but, well, for reasons we'll get into later, I haven't had much time for that.
He has Pokken Tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've put way too much time into Pokken Tournament there, but we'll we'll set that aside and come back to it.
That'll
But
be the
yeah,
finale.
yeah, Bravely Second. Just well, you have plenty of time to play the demo before the game comes out. Uh, Hopefully, you're in the mood for a really grindy RPG because, well, they give you level warnings in this game. Heed them.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because I got to an area. That's where I stopped playing the demo. Is that I just kind of organically played it, didn't really stop to grind or anything, and I got to like where I was supposed to go for like a dungeon. It was just like you should go back and level up, and I'm like, ah, damn it. But you can do auto battling. You can set up like automatic commands, which that's really helpful when you're grinding. But it's still like very monotonous, and I just think that. I feel like that battle system just isn't a good grinding battle system. Maybe it's improved with the like you can set up the commands, but like it's not like Pokemon playing that Pokemon Yellow on 3DS Virtual Console. That's a great grindy game. Like it's I would train up Pokemon and evolve stuff just by sitting in some high grass, and that's fun. Whereas doing it in Bravely Second and Bravely Default seems a little more chore like and less enjoyable.
Yeah, my response to a game that stops me and tells me, hey, you may want to go level grind, because right now I don't have a whole lot of time, free time to play games between school and work, and I've got kids and stuff. My response to a game when it tells me that is, I don't have time for that. So, sorry, see you later. I can play Twilight Princess or Fire Emblem or replay through Paper Mario instead. So.
Yeah.
All right, and speaking of Fire Emblem, that's the other big release of the week is the Third Path Fire Emblem Revelation, for those of you that didn't end up with the limited edition. And, of course, Matt had the article this week explaining how a certain mode in the new Fire Emblem games kind of sort of saved the series, especially since its sales came out and, this thing is printing money.
I mean, relative for Fire Emblem, I don't know if we can be like, I don't know if you can say Fire Emblem as a whole is like, it's setting the gaming world on fire. I think it's doing fantastically well for the series and for where Nintendo is at right now.
I think you think about it in relation to other JRPGs.
Yeah.
In comparison to other JRPGs, I mean, you've got the Pokemons and the Final Fantasies and stuff, but I mean, it's selling really well in comparison to other games of its genre. So.
Yeah, Pokemon's up here. Final Fantasy is sort of down here at this point because of the fuckery that happened with the 13 series, and then Fire Emblem is about here in that Dark Souls territory where they're doing 400,000 in their launch month.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And God knows how many $20 expansions they've sold for the game at this point.
Yep. I mean, and I think that the way they kind of laid out that game was very smart because, I mean, it's 3 games in one. I mean, granted, you do need to pay for the other stuff, but having that much game packed in there is also going to kind of ensure that if people get into it, they're going to be talking about it for a while. I kind of enjoy it. I wrapped up Birthright, and I'm was a little disappointed in Birthright. I think I'm going to enjoy Conquest a lot more. But when I get to Conquest, it's going to be like playing a brand new game. And then after I finish up Conquest, I'll probably take a break and then go play Revelation. And that means I'll probably be, playing through Fire Emblem Fates over the course of half a year. And that's a big part. You even saw with Ubisoft talking about, the success of The Division on, I think it was their best-selling, first week game ever was The Division. And Ubisoft kind of renewing what their goals are going forward, which is not create all these big hits. It's release a game, then support it and have it be long, have its lifespan be long. And it seems like that's kind of what Nintendo's doing with Fire Emblem as well, is that they're going to have DLC, they're going to have these 2 major additional quests, and they're going to keep it in the mind space.
Yeah, because there's about 40 other chapters over and above the 27 or whatever you get with the game. My roommate next room over is in the process of finishing up Conquest now. I got stalled. I still have to go back and finish Birthright before I try Conquest myself. but it's gonna be very interesting to see how differently those two games play, especially since I was one of those people that came in with Awakening, and I don't really have the fire on the background that it seems like you need to really get into Conquest.
Yeah.
Now, Neil, I think
then
you're the same as me. I'm also just now finishing Birthright, and by the end of it, I was kind of tired of the objective being the same in every mission.
Yes, that's my main issue with it.
Yeah, route the enemy, route the enemy, route the enemy, every single mission.
And that's apparently what Conquest does differently.
Yeah, and so I was kind of disappointed that, I mean, the gameplay's still great. I mean, it's still a fantastic game, don't get me wrong. But as someone that, has played other Fire Emblem games, and, I really enjoyed the series. I really like when they give me those different objectives, rather than just, kill all the enemies in the room. I want something more than that. So I think I'm really ready for Conquest. I think, from what I hear, Conquest does a lot of different objectives. So.
Yeah, I'm jazzed to check out Conquest.
Yeah, and there is a lot more variety from what I've been following with my roommates playing it. That you have there's the occasional route the enemy, but there's claim the throne, hold the line for so long in one of the early missions, things of that nature. So there is a bit more variety. I think the fun part with Revelation is that you have two sides that you're trying to bring together. So you get into that territory where you're starting to hook up, ninjas with ninjas from both sides, and just to see the sparks fly.
Yep.
Yeah, and just a side comment here. We talked about Fire Emblem sales. There was another strategy RPG that came out that week, Project Cross Zone 2, and according to well-placed sources, Namco screwed up by releasing that game the same week as Fire Emblem, because we're talking 18,000 in the U.S.
That's not good.
I didn't even contribute to that because I bought it digitally. So.
Yeah, that's but Namco game prices, they fall like a rock. So I think of the sales that Project Cross Zone, the original, did in the West, most of it was digitally after it was like $20 or less. So. There's still a chance for Project Cross Zone 3, but it's going to need some help.
How did it do in Japan, do we know?
It did all right, but not outstanding. But I think the main reason that the sequel even got greenlit was because of the Western sales.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I will run around naked with a torch for Project Cross Zone 2. I love that game.
It might just be one of those things where it released the same week as Fire Emblem. People were way more hyped for Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem's really time-consuming, so maybe eventually down the road they'll go back and pick up Cross Zone 2. But.
I mean, we were even talking about that on this very show. I think it was a week before Fire Emblem and Project Cross Zone 2 came out. That it was just like the Venn diagram for these two games is way too close together.
Yeah.
And I think when you stack up Project Cross Zone 2 to Fire Emblem Fates, there's a clear winner. There's not really a lot of debate there. And I mean, as much as I think I kind of like Project Cross Zone 2 more than Fire Emblem Fates, that's one, that's not a popular opinion, and two, one is this insane brand recognition, the other one is this doofy crossover game, which is fun in its own right, but it doesn't stand up to an entry in a now legendary series.
Yeah.
And Nintendo in the chat is saying that the Japanese sales of Project Cross Zone 2 were disappointing so far, or so we've heard. So yeah, that sucks. That might be the end of Project Cross Zone 2, or then that series for now.
Oh, so much for getting Terra in there. Yeah. But the main thing that's taken up most of my time the last week and a half or so is Pokken Tournament, which comes out on Friday. And, well, thanks to Kat Bailey spoiling it on Axe of the Blood God, I can say that the review for that will be up Tuesday morning.
Yep.
And along with the review of the controller, which I showed off on the show last week, what I will say about the controller, I am disappointed that it only works with Pokken.
Well, what other games would you use it with?
NES, Super Nintendo, and GBA Virtual Console. Like the first thing I booted up when I plugged that thing in wasn't Pokken, it was Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Because that would make real good sense as a virtual console controller, but clearly that's not going to happen unless the homebrewers
I don't like how Nintendo does this dumb stuff, like, I don't know, release GameCube controllers and have it compatible with one game. Because it's like more plastic crap to have around.
Yeah, but as for the game itself, like I said, the review will be up Tuesday. But basically, I have world credits on it, but there's one more round of single player content to go, and yeah, at least this has a single player, unlike certain other fighting games I can mention that came out in the last month. Yes, we went there.
Yep.
Yep. It's a bit repetitive, especially since my main problem with the game is just there's not enough variety. Like, you have 16 Pokemon total once you unlock everything. And you get 14 right off the top, so you're only unlocking 2 other things in the single player, and that's it.
Can you say, I don't know what the embargo details off the top, can you say what the 2 that are hidden are? I know we know what the entire roster is. This is what it's Shadow Mewtwo is probably one of them.
Yeah, and regular ass Mewtwo is the other one.
Really? That's dumb. Like, at least make like Pikachu Libre unlockable or something. I don't know.
Pikachu Libre.
I still love that's a thing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but you don't need to. I mean, you're dealing with a franchise that has 722 monsters at this point. If you don't just various species, if you count the stuff that got announced for Sun and Moon, and you have like 14 on the starting roster, and 2 of them are the same species. Somebody screwed up there, and I don't know if they have any sort of DLC plans for this game. I don't believe anything has been announced for it.
The official word is no. However, that was also the official word before Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe it'll depend on sales. Maybe they're just waiting for the game to come out before they announce it. Who knows?
I would think that they almost have to. This game is perfect for DLC. I mean, there's 700 and some more Pokemon they could put in.
We're looking at there might be close to freaking 900 Pokemon by the end of the year. I don't know how many Sun and Moon are going to add. And you just have a fighting game with 16?
Yeah, that's...
And only 14 different species? Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, the problem with bringing in new species is that they'd have to come up with new ways for them to fight. But, I mean, this is the Tekken team. They've had experience with things like fighting pandas and Caporia fighters. So there's a couple I can think of off the top of my head, like Hitmontop and Pangoro, that should probably be in here. Mm-hmm. And they would fight differently enough. There is a decent fighter variety. It's just I had some people over to try the local multiplayer today, and you played with a few favorites, and then it sort of died down from there.
Because doesn't it work that you can? I don't know how familiar you are with Tekken, and I'm like passingly familiar with Tekken. Aren't there can't you aren't there comparisons for this character is reminiscent of this guy from Tekken. This guy's reminiscent of that guy.
Yeah, like Pikachu Libre fights a lot like the King characters from Tekken, at least from what I can see with all the grappling type moves. Yeah. And they pulled in some people. I think they pulled in some influence from other fighting games. Like, I'm fighting with Chandelier, and he's basically every stereotype of Ryu. Constant shooting fire at the enemy from a distance. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like a fun time. I don't know how deep I would get into it. I'm got it pre-ordered from Amazon, so it should be arriving on this Friday, which is my birthday too. So, play some Pokken for me. But I'm gonna be checking it out for sure, just because it's too stupid of an idea for me to not check out. It's like Project Crosszone. I have to see what it is. I gotta fight as the Chandelier and fight the Pikachu dressed up like a wrestler. I have to do this to make my life complete. But I don't know how deep I'll get into it. It seems like there's a decent amount of single-player adventure-y stuff. I know that Nintendo's officially shown off some of that. How has that been in your experience so far?
There's some Pokemon story elements to it, trying to, cataclysmic event, trying to save the world from Pokemon gone totally berserk. But once you're outside of that, it's basically like a fighting game single player mode. Like you fight 8 fights in a row, or some number to advance in a league, and as you move up leagues, you unlock more and more stuff. Like I know my friend Steven will be disappointed to know that Farfetch I didn't unlock until I beat, I think, the 3rd league.
Oh yeah, because they have all those support characters, right?
Yeah, and a lot of there is the temptation to really get into the single player, because that's the sort of fastest way to level up your Pokemon, because you can actually buff their stats with experience that you get from the fights.
And then can you take that online to have your beefed up Pokemon, or is everybody kind of balanced out online?
I'm pretty sure was able to test the online a little bit, but I'm not going to go into the full thing on that until the live servers are up for everybody, basically once the game's out. Yeah. But basically, I went online on Wednesday night. There was one person I could beat pretty consistently, but every other time I got my ass handed to me.
But then, your leveling up of your characters, did that transfer online, or is it everybody's the same base level?
It transferred online. It just, the problem was I was level 15 at that point, and I was fighting stuff that was level 30 and 40.
Okay. So that's all of that single player training will then pay off by taking those characters online.
Yeah, and you'll actually level up online whether you win or lose. Your Pokemon will still get that experience as well. It's just It's kind of hard to see it when you're 20, 25 levels down from, say, somebody who's carrying around the power of Roman Reigns as the Undertaker, Giancarlo. I think maybe one person in the chat room is going to get that reference.
Talking to you more about it's making me more excited about it, because it seems like there's a little bit meatier of a game and an experience than I kind of expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of disappointing that there isn't going to be a stadium type game or some sort of battling game, but I know that stuff's all on 3DS at this point, because the Pokemon themselves look amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the engine is superb.
Yeah, so I just want to see more things in that engine is the thing, but why is Hawlucha reduced to being a background character in the training gym when he could easily have been the luchador Pokemon in this game?
Bullshit, man. Trying to keep Hawlucha down.
Yeah. Although I, as somebody who watches wrestling on an occasional basis, I do have fun trying to pick out, okay, that's the Stone Cold Stunner, that's Los Asasita, which is basically Pikachu slamming his ass into the Pokemon, and his finisher is basically the Shooting Star Press from about 200 feet in the air with electric power behind it. So yeah, that's Pokken. More on that next week, and a score probably the week after that.
Cool. Yeah.
Because I don't. Yeah, I didn't have that bad an experience with online. I think I had one fight that was a slideshow, but other than that, I want to see the receipts.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to possibly playing it with you online next weekend.
Yeah.
Join us.
Be on Friday night
on YouTube. Watching, play Pokken, if you're getting it when it comes out on Friday.
It seems like a lot of people are, because it was selling about as well as Twilight Princess and The Division was when I looked on Amazon the other night. So,
cool.
Who knows? It might actually do better than Street Fighter.
Well, considering that Street Fighter V didn't really do that great, wouldn't be not a high bar to cross. And it does have the Pokemon name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also a Wii U game, and it's not, it's got multiplayer, but not that much multiplayer, so who knows?
So with the local play, isn't there that garbage where it's like you need to have the fighting stick to do 2-player locally?
You can do it with the Pro Controller as well.
Okay. So it's just that the player 1 has to be the gamepad. Was that the nonsense? Right. Okay.
Yeah, one player is on the gamepad, and there is a noticeable difference, even for me, who sucks at detecting frame rates, between the single player or online and the local multiplayer, because it does drop it to 30 frames per second.
Okay.
It holds there really well, but it is going to be, the frame rate is going to go down big
Yeah.
time for both players if you're doing it locally.
All right, cool.
So let me get this straight. You have to have, for local multiplayer, you either have to have the Pro Controller or the fighting pad.
Yeah,
like,
you need for local. No,
okay.
We had to sync a Pro Controller for one person to get it to work beside the Pokken pad.
Okay.
You need at least 6, because there are 3 attack buttons, a jump button, the summon support, and the block, which is, and you do L and R to activate the burst mode and the super moves.
Okay.
So you need 6 buttons. A Wiimote and Nunchuck's not going to support that.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, so that is going to do it for this week. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you want to, and Neal, you have one more thing?
No, I was just waving.
Okay. All right. If you can follow us on the Twitters at Nintendo_NWR. If you want to bug one of us individually on Twitter, I'm at Donald Mick. Neal is at Nron10. That's NRON10. Matt is at BizCutHammer. That's BIZCUT Hammer. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Play Paper Mario with us.
Yay.